After 5 years of service, Billionaire woman discovered her driver's hidden life. It left her heart crying. Linda sat in the back of her sleek black sedan, the walls of her golden empire looming outside the tinted windows. A billionaire in Maplewood, she had climbed her way to the top from nothing. But as she watched the world go on outside, her heart felt as empty as her sprawling mansion. Her only companion was James, her loyal driver for 5 years. He had become more than just a chauffeur. He was her sounding board during countless lonely evenings. They often shared stories about their days, bridging the chasm between their lives but never truly connecting. That changed on a crisp autumn afternoon as Linda pulled up to James's modest neighborhood. Something unexpected caught her eye. A local school was buzzing with life, laughter filling the air like warm cocoa wrapping around her heart. Curiosity tugged at her, forcing her to park the car and step out. She watched as families came together for the fundraiser, a carnival of smiles, laughter, and a genuine spirit of community. The sounds of children's cheers bounced against the cool air, igniting a warmth inside her chest that she hadn't felt in years. From a distance, she spotted James, dressed in casual jeans and a t-shirt, brightly leading the games. He had a way of making the kids light up, his encouraging voice cutting through the noise like a beacon. He was not just a driver. He was a mentor and a man of integrity who took pride in his service to the community. Linda's heart swelled with newfound admiration. It was almost like seeing him for the first time. As she stood there, watching him in action, tears prickled at the corners of her eyes. For too long, she had been isolated in her tower of privilege, blind to the sacrifices and struggles of those like James. How had she missed this? She thought, feeling the weight of guilt and empathy crashing over her. Before she could fully process these feelings, the vibrant atmosphere was shattered. News of a corporate acquisition that could uproot local businesses began to spread like wildflowers on fire. Linda's heart sank. Her company was about to march through their lives and strip away what made them strong. Suddenly, the fight wasn't just corporate. It was personal. James's world was on the line as panic spread through the community. Linda knew she had to take a stand. But how? Her intent to help began to spiral into misunderstandings. Whispers turned into gossip. In the heated turmoil, their friendship faced a tipping point. "Why should I trust you?" James shouted, the hurt clear in his eyes. His accusation seeped deep into Linda's heart, forcing her to confront her privilege and her role in this chaos. As chilly winds swept through the gathering, Linda stood frozen in place, torn between her empire and her growing connection with James. How could she defend her world without compromising his? As the evening air thickened with tension, hope flickered inside her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Linda looked at the faces around her. The stakes couldn't be clearer. She felt the weight of her decisions and the courage it would take to shift her focus beyond herself. Standing on the precipice of choice, she was left breathless, and the question loomed heavy in the air. Would she risk everything for a man she began to understand, or cling to the safety of her empire? The collision of their worlds was imminent, yet uncertain, leaving her heart racing as she stood at the brink of transformation. As the autumn sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the crowd, Linda felt her heart race. She stood there, paralyzed by the decision ahead. With James's piercing gaze still lingering in her head, his words echoed. "Why should I trust you?" Those words felt like a wall between them, but at that moment, she wanted to break through. The laughter around her began to fade, replaced by the ominous whispers about the corporate acquisition, a looming threat that now pressed against their community like a dark cloud. Linda knew the implications of her silence. The weight of her inaction hung heavy. "James," she called out, her voice trembling. He turned, skepticism dancing in his eyes. Linda, you don't understand, he started. But she cut him off, stepping toward him, determined to bridge the gap that had formed. No, I think I do. I was blind to what was happening around us. But I want to help. I can't sit back anymore, she urged, her voice softening. I'm not here just as your boss, I want to be an ally. Let me show you I really mean it. His expression didn't change, a mix of disbelief and caution. Slowly, the tension in his shoulders seemed to ease, but the hurt lingered. That's easy to say now. But this isn't just about money for me. It's about trust. You have no idea what it's like to struggle every day, to watch everything you love be threatened. Linda swallowed hard. She had to show him she understood, that she was not just a billionaire who ruled from her ivory tower. I may not know your struggles directly, but I can't ignore the fact that my company would ruin lives your life, she said, feeling more conviction with every word. I was wrong to dismiss what you care about. As she spoke, a small group of parents and children approached, their faces painted with concern. The festival that had once buzzed with joy now crackled with fear. Linda took a deep breath and faced them. I know you're scared. I have been a part of the problem, but I want to be part of the solution. I want to help save our community. James watched her, the flicker of hope battling against years of skepticism. Witnessing her genuine desire to dive into a world she had largely overlooked made a part of him stir. And how do you expect to do that? He asked, skepticism still lacing his tone. Linda felt the weight of his challenge, and with her heart pounding, she answered, we need to gather the community, raise awareness. If they hear our stories, they can see the impact of what's happening. I'll use my resources, my voice, whatever it takes. In the silence that followed, she dared to hope James would see her newfound determination. She reached out, her hand trembling slightly as she offered it to him. Will you help me? He hesitated, conflicted, but something soft in her expression sparked a flicker of trust deep within him. His heart battled against years of mistrust. If you're serious, then yes. But I'm still watching you. The exchange felt electric. It energized them both, turning the tide of doubt into a flicker of partnership. As they began to strategize, Linda noticed the healing, the connection forming like threads weaving a tapestry of strength between them. But just as the air grew light with possibilities, her phone buzzed in her pocket, her assistant's urgent text blaring reminders and updates about the looming acquisition. Her heart sank. This was just the beginning, and battles were ahead. Could they really change their fates together? Or would the fierce tide of corporate greed wash it all away? As Linda looked at James with his guarded but intrigued eyes, an unspoken promise hung in the air between them. Would they have the courage to face the storm that lay ahead? Linda's mind raced as she felt the tiny device vibrate against her thigh. Just when she sensed a shift, a glimmer of hope, her reminders yanked her back to harsh reality. She pulled the phone from her pocket, her heart sinking deeper into her stomach with each word on the screen. Urgent update. Acquisition meeting moved to tomorrow. Prepare your notes. Those words felt like lead weights, dragging her hopes down. She inhaled deeply, forcing a wave of calm over herself. While she wanted to abandon everything else in her life to focus on saving the community, corporate decisions loomed like storm clouds above her. She knew she had to push through, but how could she reconcile those two worlds? James stood beside her, still processing their earlier exchange. The tension between them held an energy that compelled her to focus. We need to plan a community meeting, she said, squeezing the phone tightly, its buzzing a constant reminder of the ticking clock. Tonight, maybe? Gather everyone, parents, teachers, business owners. They deserve to hear this. The crowd around them was thickening again. Anxiety etched across their faces. Linda could see the worry mounting like a tidal wave ready to crash. Children clung to their parents, and their chatter was replaced by murmurs of uncertainty. Is this too much? She wondered aloud, directing her question toward James, hoping for guidance. What do you think? He seemed lost in thought, his brow furrowed. I think it's a good idea, but you need to be prepared, he replied slowly. Finding common ground in a community that feels betrayed isn't easy. Linda nodded, fully aware of how delicate this would be. I'll bring in the experts. activists, community leaders. We need a strong voice. Together, we can fight back against this takeover. For the first time, James's eyes glinted with the excitement of what could be. Then I'll reach out to some folks, 2 neighbors, friends, they'll listen to me. The suggestion sparked an idea in Linda's mind. We can both use our networks. You know the heart of this community. I know the means to amplify our message. Right? But trust is key, he reminded her. A hint of doubt lingering in his voice. It was a reminder that they were still standing on shaky ground, each step forward uncertain. Trust cannot be built overnight, Linda agreed. But it can start with honesty. The night grew darker as they continued their discussions, the glow of fairy lights above casting a gentle ambience over the somber faces surrounding them. Linda could almost feel the weight of their expectations. They were counting on her. She looked at him, her heart racing with a blend of fear and determination. I'm not going to let them down. James nodded slowly. Now it's our time. But we need a plan. This isn't just about saving jobs. We need to inspire hope, and it starts with a clear voice. Just as they prepared to leave the festival, Linda's phone buzzed again, this time with a call. She glanced at the screen and her heart dropped. It was her business partner. The urgency in the tone on the other line was palpable. Linda, the board's ready to move ahead with the acquisition. We need your vote, and quick, the voice pressed. Looming deadlines clawed at her spirit as she stepped away from the conversation. Thoughts raced. Would she betray the very people she was trying to help? She turned to James, her eyes filled with desperation. What do I do? His gaze held hers, unwavering yet troubled. You need to choose. Your loyalty to them or your loyalty to us. Caught between 2 worlds again, a chill ran up her spine. The stakes just got higher. What would she decide? Would she gamble on breaking the cycle of corporate greed or protect her position? A choice was coming she hadn't anticipated. As the festival lights flickered, Linda found herself at a crossroads. The moment was arriving, and she needed to stand firm. But would her decision echo hope or heartbreak? Linda stood there, phone still pressed against her ear, her partner's words ringing relentlessly in her head. Vote, and quick. Time slipped through her fingers like sand. She could feel her heart beating against her chest, the pulse in her temples thundering. I need to think, she whispered, barely audible, the fear creeping back in. James stepped closer, his presence a grounding force. We can't delay, Linda. We need you tonight to rally the community. Rally them for what? I'm about to put everything we're fighting for on the line. Her voice rose, a hint of panic seeping through. I can't just abandon my responsibilities at the company. If I do, what happens to my career, to the people counting on me? His brow furrowed, but something in James's expression softened. What about the people counting on you here? Don't they deserve a voice? You have that voice. She looked into his eyes, searching for an anchor. It was brutal, the pressure mounting from both sides. The community wanted her to be their champion, to raise their voices. But the company also needed her, or so they claimed. She could end up being the promise of stability for everyone she'd worked alongside for years, assuming she could conform to their ever-demanding expectations. Okay, she finally managed to say, swallowing hard. Let us do the meeting. I'll gather the community. I'll focus on that. James's face lit up with a fierce determination. That's the spirit. They'll need to understand what we're facing. We all will. Just then, the buzzing of her phone drew her attention again. Another message flashed on the screen, this one from an unknown number. We know about the acquisition. Meet me at the park. Midnight. Linda's pulse quickened. The timing felt ominous yet inviting. A reason to believe that someone would shed light on what was really going on. The prospect of new information made her heart race. Who was this person? What did they know? I have to go, she murmured, more to herself than to James. He frowned, sensing her distraction. Go where? I got a message. She hesitated, debating if she should share this latest twist. After a brief pause, she felt the need to take the leap. Someone wants to meet at midnight. They say they know about the acquisition. Who? What do they want? James questioned, concern carving ruts in his face. I don't know. But I need to find out. Linda, this is risky. You don't know who they are. I can't just ignore it. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. Doubts rippled through her. But this was a chance, perhaps the only chance, to gain the leverage she desperately needed. The festival lights twinkled above, fading into the background as her focus sharpened. This might be the missing puzzle piece. James placed a hand on her shoulder, grounding her once more. Just promise me you'll be careful. I promise, she said, though anxiety squeezed her chest. They parted ways, and as Linda moved through the crowd, she could feel every eye on her. The weight of responsibility pressed down harder now. She was late for the community meeting, but it all felt overshadowed by the unpredictability of what this midnight meeting could hold. With each step toward her car, hope and dread twisted into an anxious alliance. What awaited her under the shadows of the park? Was it a chance to reclaim her power or merely a trap waiting to ensnare her? The thought seeped into her mind, mingling with the palpable uncertainty suffusing the night. It was time to find out. Linda pulled up to the park, her heart racing in tandem with the shadows stretching beneath the streetlights. Each flicker of light reminded her of the urgency brewing within. Midnight was only minutes away, and with each second that passed, her pulse quickened. She stepped out of her car and scanned the deserted area. The whispers of leaves danced in the cool breeze, and the distant laughter from the festival dimmed, creating an eerie stillness. She had come here seeking answers, yet a knot formed in her stomach, tightening with every cautious footstep toward the designated meeting point. At a flicker of movement caught her eye a figure leaning against a tree. The shadowy outline shifted, and as they stepped into the light, her breath caught in her throat. A familiar face, one she hadn't seen in years. "Derek?" she said, astonished. Her voice echoed softly, the sound swallowed by the night. "Linda," he replied, tension marking his tone. His eyes darted around, confirming they were alone. "I didn't think you'd come. Why did you message me?" She kept her voice steady, though she felt like a marionette, pulled by strings of uncertainty. "You said you know about the acquisition. What do you have?" Derek hesitated, glancing once more at the shadows as if fearful of being overheard. "There's more at stake than you know," he warned, his expression grave. "You're in the middle of something much larger than the company or the community." She crossed her arms, bracing herself against the chill not just from the air but from his words. "What do you mean? Your company, it's not just about business mergers or profits. There's a bigger game being played." He hesitated, then took a step closer, urgency radiating from him. "You're in danger, Linda. They're planning to cut you out." Her heart skipped a beat. "Cut me out? Why? I'm their top executive. Their plans don't really include you. You've become an obstacle. People like you aren't part of the final vision they have." "What are you talking about?" she demanded, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "The acquisition is a front. They want control of everything, and they don't want anyone standing in their way." His voice dropped to a whisper. "That includes you." Fear coiling in her chest, Linda felt the ground beneath her shift. Her thoughts spiraled, racing through memories of every late night spent to prove her worth. Every time she pushed herself to climb higher. Was it all for nothing? Was she merely a cog in someone else's game? "Why are you telling me this?" she found herself asking. "What do you get out of it?" Derek looked away, regret flickering across his face. "Because I don't want to see you fall into their trap. We once had a connection, and I thought you should know the truth. You need to prepare yourself." The weight of his admission hung between them, electrifying the air. Her instincts screamed at her to trust him, but no matter how much she wished otherwise, doubts clung to her. "Help me, then," she said, propelling herself forward with determination. "If I'm going to fight this, I'll need somebody who knows what's really going on." His eyes met hers, an unspoken understanding passing between them. "I'll help you, but you have to be ready to make some tough choices." Linda nodded, the gravity of their conversation settling in. She hadn't just come to the park seeking answers. She was standing at the precipice of a battle that could alter the course of her life. As they commenced a quiet yet intense discussion, the festival noises began to fade, replaced by a silent certainty that echoing repercussions awaited their next move. Was she ready to challenge everything she thought she knew? The night air buzzed, and with it came a series of questions that would determine her fate and unearth the hidden secrets of the people she thought she trusted the most. Where would this new path lead her? And what risks would she have to take to reclaim not only her power but her sense of self? The answers loomed just out of reach, and the night was only beginning. As Linda and Derek stood in the park, the air thick with unspoken truths, her mind raced. She had built her life on the foundation of loyalty and hard work, but now those very pillars felt like shifting sand. Tough choices, she echoed, a chill running down her spine. What did Derek envision? Was she prepared to sacrifice her job, her status, her peace of mind? What kind of choices? She asked, trying to keep the tremor out of her voice. Derek rubbed the back of his neck, the tension evident. You'll need to decide who to trust. I can help you gather information, but it's not going to be easy. You might have to dig deeper than you ever imagined, and it could mean confronting people you once considered allies. Linda swallowed hard. Could she really face those she thought she could depend on? She felt like a swimmer thrown into turbulent waters, struggling to find solid ground. Right now, your company's board is plotting your downfall. Derek's words were sharp, cutting through the fog of her confusion. If they sense you're a threat, they'll move to eliminate you before you can act. You need allies, not just me. He scanned the shadows, eyes darting nervously. But who? That's the tough part. The thought of betrayal stung. She had put her faith in so many, built friendships and alliances over the years. To suspect any of them of treachery was unthinkable. What if they find out we're working together? We need to be strategic, Derek replied, his voice low and intense. Trust isn't guaranteed. It's earned. You'll have to turn the tables on them first. Show them you're not the easy target they think you are. Doubt crept in again. Could she really do this? But as flashes of her ambition and tenacity surged through her, she felt a flicker of resolve. Pushing against the weight of uncertainty, she took a step forward. Let us do it. Show me what I need to know. Okay. Derek nodded slightly, the tension easing just a fraction. Start by keeping your routine. Don't let anyone sense that you're onto them. We'll meet like this for now, but you may need to trust someone else eventually. Someone who can help you access information from the inside. Inside? The thought made her stomach churn, but she understood. Information was power, and she needed to reclaim hers, as unsettling as that sounded. Do you have anyone in mind? She asked cautiously, scanning their surroundings. There's a risk in that, Derek said, brows knitting together. But I have a friend. He's in the finance department and has access to some crucial data. If he believes in your cause, he might aid us, but convincing him won't be straightforward. Linda nodded, her mind weighing the possibilities. Every fiber of her being screamed to fight back, to reclaim her narrative. But the stakes were rising, and the darkness surrounding her became more palpable. Let me reach out to him, Derek said, sensing her determination. We should set a time and location to meet. Somewhere discreet. Suddenly, a burst of laughter rang out from the festival nearby, reminding her of how isolating this path could feel. While others celebrated, she found herself standing on the brink of a battle that could cost her everything. What if he won't help? Then we find someone who will, Derek replied, his eyes fierce with conviction. But we can't let fear dictate our choices. Linda took a deep breath, and with it, a small fire ignited inside her. Then let us start planning our next move. Time is not on our side. They began to strategize under the faint glow of the streetlights, exchanging ideas that felt both thrilling and terrifying. But beneath their urgency lurked a harsh reminder that trust, once broken, could shatter all hopes. Just as they unlocked new possibilities in their discussion, a sudden noise interrupted a snap of a twig that sent her heart racing. Did you hear that? Derek asked, his voice tense. They turned instinctively toward the sound, the shadows seeming to tighten around them. Who else could be listening? And what did they mean for Linda's plans? She felt the weight of the night pressing down, and in that moment, She realized the battle had only just begun. How much would she risk to protect herself, and at what cost? As silence enveloped them like a thick fog, Linda prepared for whatever revelations and dangers lay ahead. But would she be able to outmaneuver those who conspired against her? Even as shadows drifted closer, Linda's heart thundered in her chest as she strained to hear any further sounds. But it was just the distant laughter of festival-goers, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within her. Derek was tense beside her, scanning the dark edges of the park, his body coiled like a spring ready to jump into action. "Let us move," he whispered urgently, pulling her away from the area under the trees. They walked briskly, each footstep echoing in her ears, adrenaline flooding her veins. The shadows no longer felt like an abstract fear. They were a tangible presence, closing in, tightening around her reality. "Where do we go?" she asked, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "Just down the path. There's a small cafe that stays open late. We can talk there," Derek said, his voice steady. She noted the way his energy shifted, calm determination replacing the earlier anxiety. They slipped into the cafe, the warmth engulfing them instantly. It was dimly lit, an ideal spot to discuss plans without drawing attention. In a booth at the back, they positioned themselves, scanning the room cautiously. Linda took a moment to breathe, wrapping her fingers around a steaming mug of coffee. "Okay, what's next?" she asked, her resolve hardening as the heat of the drink seeped into her palms. Derek leaned in, lowering his voice. "I'll reach out to my friend in finance tonight. It's risky, but if he believes in you and your vision for the company, he might share data that can give you leverage. But he's cautious. You'll have to convince him that you're not just playing defense." Her stomach fluttered uneasily. What did it mean to convince someone? Wouldn't that require showing vulnerability, the very thing she was taught to avoid in the cutthroat world of corporate hustle? "Let us do this," she said, feeling a small spark of courage ignite within her. "What should I say?" Derek thought for a moment. "Keep it simple. Explain that your colleagues are setting you up for failure and how you want to fight back. If he thinks there's a chance to change the company for the better, he may step up." Linda nodded, her mind racing. Despite the fear leaching into her thoughts, the idea of turning the tide exhilarated her. She could imagine a different future, a workplace where alliances were built on trust and not betrayal. "Trust," she murmured softly, tasting the word. A flicker of hope danced within her. But would she really have the strength to navigate this treacherous path? Hours seemed to pass in minutes as they plotted, each detail sharpened with urgency. But just as they began to feel the weight of their plans solidifying, the door swung open, and a gust of cold air rushed in. Linda turned, instinctively tensing, but it was only an older couple walking in, clinking their takeaway coffee cups together with laughter. "False alarm," she whispered, exhaling as Derek shook his head knowingly. They were not yet safe. The feeling of being constantly watched clawed at her thoughts, and with it a creeping sense of paranoia. "What if they've already caught wind of what we're doing?" she blurted, the fear rising in her chest. "Then we need to act fast," Derek replied, urgency lacing his words. "This isn't just about survival anymore. It's a battle for your future." As they sat shoulder to shoulder, Linda realized how little control she actually had over her life. Would she be able to muster the courage to confront the very people she had trusted? She had to be ready, because if she didn't strike first, the board would strike her down. Suddenly, her phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking the tension. They both jumped slightly, eyes locking for a moment before she checked the screen. It was a message from a surprisingly familiar name. A colleague, someone she'd have never suspected would reach out to her now. "Hey, are you free to talk?" it read. Just as disbelief washed over her, she felt Derek lean closer, anticipation flickering in his eyes. "Who is it?" he asked quietly, his curiosity piqued. "Just someone from the office," she replied, her heart racing. "But what if they know? Then they might be an ally," Derek urged softly. Could she trust this unexpected communication? What if it was a trap, a way to reel her back in? Or could this be the lifeline she desperately needed to reclaim her power? The moment hung heavy in the air, and as she looked from the phone's glowing screen to Derek's encouraging gaze, she felt she was about to make a choice that could change everything. But as her fingers hovered over the keyboard, she hesitated. Could this be the turning point she had been waiting for? Or was it just another shadowy figure in a game that was far from over? Her stomach knotted, and she realized this was her moment to either step forward or recede into the shadows. What would become of her if she chose wrong? Would she have the courage to confront whatever lay ahead? As the silence deepened, the shadows seemed to grow even darker, and as she pressed send, the question lingered. Would this message lead her to safety or plunge her deeper into danger? Linda's heart raced as the message flew into the digital void, and for a fleeting moment, she felt as though she had tipped the balance in her favor. With her breath held, she exchanged a glance with Derek, who looked equally tense, the air seeming to crackle between them with unspoken words. Seconds stretched into an eternity, and just as doubt clawed at her resolve, her phone vibrated again. It felt like a jolt of electricity coursing through her veins. She became acutely aware of the warm coffee cup slowly cooling in her hands, the chatter of patrons around them fading into a dull roar. Whatever was happening right now could change everything. She opened the message, a mix of trepidation and hope swirling in her chest. "Let us meet," it read, followed by an address and a time. Her breath caught. This colleague wanted to meet face to face. And with that came a wave of anxiety. Was it a trap? Or an ally genuinely reaching out? What did they say? Derek pressed, his tone intense but low, like a whisper on the verge of urgency. "It's a meeting," Linda replied, her voice a shaky breath. "At a diner down the street." The tension in Derek's posture shifted from concern to cautious optimism. "This could be what we need. If they're offering support, we should take it." She nodded, but doubt gnawed at her insides. What if this was a ruse to drag her back into the fray? Still, the prospect of not facing this battle alone tugged at her. She was weary from just the thought of confronting the board, their calculating gazes burning with suspicion. "What should I do?" Linda asked, her tone wobbling. "Just be yourself," Derek said firmly. "Don't disclose everything right away. Test the waters. See where their loyalty lies." Taking a deep breath, Linda drained the last of her coffee, summoning a small ember of resolve. They slipped out of the cafe, the night air wrapping around them like a chilly embrace. As they walked, streetlights flickered overhead, illuminating their path in sharp contrasts of shadow and light, a metaphor for her internal landscape. "Do you think they're on to me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Derek pursed his lips, thoughtful. "Hard to say, but staying cautious is the only way forward. Just remember, everyone's got their own agenda in this world." As they approached the diner, the neon lights buzzed with a warmth that contrasted impossible to the chill in her heart. She felt her nerves tightening. What if this colleague had been part of the scheming all along? Would they use her fears against her? "Whatever happens in there, just stick to the plan," Derek reminded her. He placed a steadying hand on her back, grounding her momentarily. With a slow exhale, she nodded again. Inside, the familiar scent of sizzling bacon wafted in the air. Mingling with the faint smell of coffee, every detail intensified her anxiety, but also urged her forward. They took a booth in a far corner, and the server appeared, giving them a nod, before retreating to the counter where a couple of regulars held forth with laughter. "Maybe they're also in the same game," Derek joked lightly, trying to ease the tension, and it managed to bring a flicker of a smile to her face. Linda's thoughts raced in circles as they waited. Every passing second felt like an eternity, and that lump of uncertainty in her throat widened. Just when she thought she might burst from the anticipation, the door jingled open, and in walked a figure she recognized immediately, a friendly face, but one she had trusted too easily in the past. "Here we go," she murmured, dread pooling in her stomach. This was the moment. In this diner, amidst the low hum of chatter and clinks of cutlery, the dynamics of her future teetered on the edge. Would they extend a hand of loyalty, or would she soon find herself tethered to the very darkness she sought to escape? As the figure approached with a calculating smile, Linda couldn't shake the tightening feeling in her chest. What was their true motive? Could she survive another round of deception? The moment of truth loomed large as she braced herself. Would she discover a new ally? Or was the world of shadows even deeper than she thought? Linda's uncertainty twisted like a viper around her heart as the figure strode closer. The murmur of the diner faded. Everything else melted away. Her focus narrowed to the bright smile plastered across that familiar face. "Linda, there you are," Mia said, sliding into the booth with a lightness that felt utterly misplaced. "I'm so glad we could meet." "Thanks for coming, Mia," Linda replied, forcing her own voice to sound steady. Outside, it appeared that the world had continued on without her. Inside, however, she felt suspended in this moment of reckoning. Derek's gaze flickered between them, discerning and wary. It encouraged Linda to keep her body poised, her expression open. She had to remain vigilant. "It's been a while, hasn't it?" Mia said, leaning forward, her eyes sparkling with sincerity. "You've been on my mind. Things have shifted at the company, and I thought now might be a good time to reconnect." Linda nodded, trying to gauge how much of that warmth was genuine and how much was just camouflage. I've been dealing with some challenges," she finally admitted, glancing at Derek for reassurance. "Challenges? Oh, I can imagine. The board has been, well, let us just say they're not the easiest to work with," Mia said, her voice dropping in volume, conspiratorial. "But I'm here for you." Mia's words hung in the air, tempting Linda to believe they were allies after all. Yet, the past felt like a loaded gun next to her. There was history stained with betrayal. Could she trust someone who had once turned their back on her? "Why do you want to help, exactly?" Linda surprised herself with the sharpness in her tone. It was perhaps rude, but doubt twisted in her stomach. Mia blinked, taken aback, and then her expression softened. "Because I believe in you, Linda. You deserve to thrive, not just survive. I have resources, information that could help you." Derek shifted beside her, his knee brushing against hers as he leaned closer, tension in his voice. "What kind of resources?" Mia crossed her arms across the table, brow furrowing as if considering her next words carefully. "People who can provide insight, help you navigate the currents of what's happening in the boardroom. They want to protect their own interests, but if you have the right strategy." Linda's heart sped up, but so did her doubts. "And why should I believe that these people won't turn on me as soon as it benefits them?" "Because they're in the same boat," Mia responded earnestly. "Strong voices can't be silenced forever. The longer you wait, the more leverage they gain. You need to act, and act quickly." The weight of her words settled on Linda like an invisible cloak. Was this genuine? Was Mia truly suggesting a partnership to pull her out of the mire? Or was it just a clever play wrapped in nobility to regain trust? But before she could gather her thoughts, the diner's door swung open once more, and a trio of men walked in, their demeanor heavy with authority. It sent a jolt through Derek, and a shudder of alarm rattled through Linda's decision-making process. "Speak of the devil," Derek murmured under his breath, angles of determination etched across his face. Linda's breath caught. Her past was suddenly colliding with the present. Would they spot her here in this meeting? Could the shadows she tried so hard to escape swallow her again? "Linda, are you okay?" Mia's voice was a hand reaching for her. Yet all that Linda's mind could focus on were the footsteps growing closer, the casual laughter of those men, who might be allies out for blood. She turned back to Mia, searching for something: hope, a plan, anything to hang on to. But with every tick of the clock, the air grew denser, and events beyond her control threatened to unfold. In that moment, one question pounded in her chest: if she reached out for Mia's offered lifeline, would it pull her into safety or drag her under deeper into the chaos? As decisions forged under pressure do, everything hung in the balance, and the weight felt heavier than ever. Linda's heart raced as the trio of men approached their booth, their laughter ringing like ominous bells. She could feel the weight of potential doom pressing down on her, urging her to act. Mia's anxious glance flickered from Linda to Derek, then back again like a hand in a dangerous game. "Stay calm. Just act natural," Linda whispered, keeping her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. "I was going to say the same," Derek replied, his expression sharpening into a mask of focus. The clinking of cups and the low hum of chatter around them faded into the background, a hazy blur against the sharpness of their predicament. The men settled into a booth not far from them, their presence heavy. Linda could see the familiar face of Nathan, one of her colleagues from the board, as he took off his jacket with an ease of authority. Paralyzed by the sudden fear of exposure, she held her breath, her throat tightening. Mia leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "What now?" "Just keep talking," Linda urged, forcing herself to keep her demeanor casual. "Act like everything's fine." "So what's the next step?" Derek asked quietly, voice taut. Linda centered herself, her gaze fixed on Mia, determined to keep the conversation flowing despite the uncertainty brewing in the air. "Mia, if you think you can tap into those resources you mentioned, of course," Mia replied, her enthusiasm returning as she leaned forward. "I have contacts who can help us influence the conversation at the board level. We can turn this tide." Her hopeful words danced on the edge of Linda's resolve. But the knot in her stomach tightened. "And in exchange, what do you expect from me?" Mia hesitated, flicking her eyes toward Nathan and his companions, who seemed engrossed in their own discussion. "I just want to see you win. We can both benefit if you stabilize your position." But Linda's skepticism crept in. "No one benefits for free in this world." Before Mia could respond, one of the men, Sebastian, notorious for his disdain of dissent, glanced over at their table, brow raised. Linda's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She forced a bright smile as he leaned back in his seat, casually observing her and Derek. "Act normal," Derek almost whispered, pushing his reinforced resolve toward her. "Right?" she whispered back. "But what if just go with it?" Derek urged, his voice steady. "We can't let them see us sweat." As the minutes ticked by, discussions turned and twisted back to Mia's plan. She shared insights about board dynamics, whispered in tones meant only for Linda and Derek, her voice quiet yet laced with hope. Then, the chatter from Nathan's table reached her ear again. Can you believe she had the audacity to think she could negotiate? A vein throbbed in Linda's temple at the condescending tone as Sebastian laughed. "Yeah. Let us see how long that lasts." Anger ignited in her chest. They were discussing her, their laughter fueling the fire of their privilege. What they didn't realize was that she had changed. She had the strength now, a conviction forged in uncertainty, a determination to reclaim her narrative. "Hey! Don't let this affect you," Derek murmured, sensing her escalating emotions. "Focus on the plan." "Yes, you're right," Linda said, forcing herself to take a slow breath. "Let us strategize." But when her phone buzzed with another message, all plans froze. She glanced down, her heart dropping. It was from the colleague who reached out earlier, asking to meet in a more secure location. The urgency of it sent a thrill through her mixed with fear. "Mia, I have to take this," Linda said, her voice trembling slightly, moving away from the booth. "Wait, what is happening?" Mia called, but Linda waved her off, taking the call outside, desperate for air. "Hey! I'm here," she answered, stepping out into the dim light of the parking lot. "Linda, you need to act quickly," the voice on the other end warned. "I can't say much, but there are forces moving against you in the company. You've lost their trust. They're preparing to cut you out." Her thoughts swirled, panic rising. Who can I trust? Nathan and Sebastian are ruthless. What do I do? Gather your allies, but do it carefully. You might only have one chance. Meet me at the old office tonight at 10 p.m. sharp. I'll help you uncover the truth. The wind cut through her, and she felt a chill travel down her spine. Was it all really unraveling? "I'll be there," she promised, her heart racing at the thought. She hung up, stepping back into the diner, her mind spinning. "What's happening?" Derek asked, concern etching lines across his face. "It's bad. I have to meet someone tonight." "Go without hesitation," Derek urged, his unwavering support a comfort. "We'll finish up here." But as she turned back toward the booth, she felt a sharp pang of guilt. "I have to figure this out alone." "Don't involve yourself," she insisted. "Not if it means losing you again," he replied, his eyes earnest. Linda stood at the precipice of her own powers, hoping to merge trust with courage, knowing she could no longer stand in the blinding shadows. "I'm in the fight now," she said, pushing aside uncertainty. And I won T back down. With Derek's eye on her and Mia's future aligned, she set her sights on reclaiming her space, rallying everything inside her. She refused to crumble. The night awaited her, and as she stepped forward into a new chapter, she whispered to herself, "This time, I will fight." Hope hung in the air, like fireflies lingering just out of reach, alive, vibrant, and almost tangible as a rush of liberation coursed through her veins. And with that determination sparking inside, she was ready to take on whatever storm awaited. It was time to fight. As the shadows of doubt whispered behind her, she pushed them aside and embraced the power in her heart, knowing full well she was carving a path toward a new dawn. Her journey had only just begun. Now, if you've enjoyed following Linda's journey through struggle and transformation, don't wait another moment. You have to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next episode of gripping stories and unreal transformations. Leave a like right now and show your support. Every click is fuel to spread this adventure to even more hearts. We want to hear from you. Comment below with your feelings about how Linda's story resolved what hit home for you. What do you think awaits her next? And don't keep this powerful story to yourself. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who you know need to see this transformation. Let us build a community of support and inspiration together.